Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Business Owner Podcast. Glad to have you here. On this podcast, we explore what it looks like to encourage, to equip, and to envision kingdom business owners to live their best lives as Jesus-following entrepreneurs. So tune in. All right. Well, hey, welcome to the Kingdom Business Owner Podcast. Excited to have you here and super excited for our first guest, Mr. Dale Pierce, man. Glad to have you here.
It's great to be here, Hunter.
Yeah, man. This is a year and a half in the making of this podcast. So I feel like super honored that you're the first guest, man, talking about all things faith and entrepreneurship and how to integrate the two. So,
yeah, sounds good.
Man, for our listeners that don't know who Dale Pierce is, they can see you, they can see the bald head, the like big guy, the bigness that you are, but give us the 60-second overview of who's Dale Pierce.
Yeah, grew up in Upper Michigan, Midwest, kind of just regular kind of kid, and then God called me to full-time ministry, full-time professional paid ministry, and now he's called me into full-time entrepreneur business ministry here after 33 years. So kind of beginning a new journey, a new season. I love coming alongside leaders, business leaders and family leaders to help them become more of who God's called them to be. And then when it comes to business leaders, helping them not just be who they are, but then not just be the best version of themselves, but also coaching their people, caring for their people so that they can be the best versions of themselves.
It's good, man. Talk about that transition from full-time vocational ministry into the marketplace now, working with leaders. What's
Still trying
like?
to figure it out, man. Still, it's been really challenging for sure, going from a salaried position to a kind of working for other people position, and so that's been a really good place to lean into, because before I would used to say, I'm trusting the Father. Well, now I know what business owners and entrepreneurs are really going through when they say, man, it's been a tough season, because you're really trusting the Father, not just waiting for a check that's going to come in the mail and saying, I'm trusting. No, you're busting your tail to make it happen. And so I've come to appreciate a lot more those in business for themselves, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, business leaders, just because it's a new season for me, but it's a tough place to be. It can be a tough place to be. So I've learned some things from that for sure, even in the first 8 months.
That's good, man. Part of the reason that I wanted you to be our first guest on this podcast is the people who are going to be listening to this podcast are Jesus following business owners who, for the most part, have been trying to build a business. And the reason I wanted you on here is you made the jump from ministry into the marketplace. And again, like you just said, you felt the wrestling of what it's like to go from the steadiness of the church at times to marketplace, which is just chaotic and crazy.
Yes.
But give the folks who are tuning into this, give them some framework of what you think it looks like to walk hand in hand with Jesus as you're running a business. Because you do chaplaincy, you do team care stuff for organizations all throughout Northern Colorado. So you've seen the ins and outs of businesses who are, trying to do it really well alongside Jesus. But give us some practicals.
Yeah, well, I mean, it begins with a personal friendship with the God who loves you. I mean, as you're stepping into that, getting up in the morning, rolling out of bed, what the first words are, man, I can't do this alone, Jesus. I need you. I've always loved, John the Baptist's mantra, I am not the Christ, thinking that it all depends on me.
It's good.
And just realizing that this day does not all depend on me. What the phone calls I make, the conversations I have, the deals I open or close, it does not begin with me that day. It begins and ends with Him. So just that initial trust, but then the pattern that goes throughout the day of praying before a meeting. Sometimes I'll walk the block. I'll show up a few minutes early and I'll walk the block before I actually walk into the shop. where I'm doing the chaplaincy, or if I'm going to have a conversation, just to try to be a little bit more dependent versus anxious and independent.
Yeah.
So practices like that, I think, are key. I mean, if you're going in to close a deal, what does it look like to, or you're going in to begin the conversation, just to walk around the cafe, show up 5 minutes early, don't push yourself, give yourself some margin so that you can, calm your heart, calm your mind, settle it on Christ, and then let him direct the conversation.
That's so good, man. I think for the first 5 to 6 years of running my business, I took a lot of pride in like stacking my meetings. Like I'm having 5 sales calls, and then I have a production meeting, and like it was just jam packed all day long, and I had no margin in between meetings. And I took a lot of pride in that. I thought that's like the mark of a true gritty entrepreneur. And the more that I spend more time with true kingdom business owners, I realize, oh man, the ones that are doing it best have margin in between meetings. They can show up well. They're praying over, hey, God, what's your agenda for this meeting? Not what's my agenda? What am I trying to accomplish through this meeting? But what are you trying to accomplish through this meeting? How can I show this person that A, you love them, but B, like, is there anything that is unique that is in this circumstance, in this business meeting, this boardroom?
So good, man.
So anyways, I am so guilty of this. I still struggle with it at times, but the best kingdom business owners that I know, what you said, man, show up early and are praying people.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And then figuring out from there what those rhythms might look like throughout the day. If they've got a chance to have a lunch and take 10 minutes and just talk to the Father, give them the rest of the day, and then close the day out with, one of the great resources, and they just expanded it actually the first of the year, which many of our listeners have probably heard, is it's called Lectio 365. It's put out by the 24/7 Prayer Movement. It's an app, and it's got a morning reflection, a midday reflection now, and an evening reflection. So and it's 20 minutes total, 30 minutes total probably, maybe not even that long, 25 minutes total throughout the whole day, but so good just to recenter and refocus. And in between when I'm driving, I've been using those a lot, and it's really been helpful.
So good, man. So good. Yeah, I love that. I heard a quote once about what does it look like to abide throughout your day, and it's, are you thinking about Jesus when you pull up to the stoplight? Are you thinking about Jesus when you wake up? And are you thinking about Jesus when you go to bed? I'm like, oh man, just like in the mundane moments, like, am I communing with God throughout the day? So
that's good.
Anyways, man.
And it's a lifelong practice. I mean,
for sure.
The Brother Lawrences and the Henry Nowens of the world didn't get it. So I'm not expecting to get it down, but I'm certainly moving toward that, wanting to, like, Dallas Willard said, that's the best part of my day is full joy and presence with Jesus, and leaning into what that looks like every day is the best part of me.
So good, man. Yeah. So good. Are you familiar with like rules of life? Like spiritual rules of life? I'm curious from your perspective, have you seen any rules of life for kingdom business owners? Because the rules of life that I see are, like, hey, we're revolving our calendars around Sabbath. Like, that's our rule of life. We're not going to miss Sabbath or whatever it is. Have you seen or know any?
I mean, that might be that's a great piece to lean into maybe in the future, is what does a rule of life look like for a kingdom business owner? And what's it really, we could talk about it for sure. It really boils down to what do they see as, what's the Spirit led them to place as value for them? And then how do they structure that rhythm daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly, and then and put those things on the calendar as important as any meeting or call.
Come on.
Yeah.
So good, man.
And it's hard, but I think it'd be profitable. And some of my rule of life has changed now. Because before, when I was getting a salary, or from a church and had some time, they were paying me to have time with Jesus.
Yeah.
Now I really have to, my rule of life is, man, I got to carve this thing out.
For sure, man. And I think that's what so many entrepreneurs that are in the Foundry network that you and I are a part of, is that they struggle with getting time with Jesus, because to operate the organization, they have to work 50 plus hours a week.
Right.
And to do that means you have to get up at 4 a.m. to even have a chance at getting with Jesus.
Yes.
And it's like, that's really difficult. So how do we have rules of life throughout our day that make it to where it's not just a like quick check-in in the morning with God and then see at night right before bed? Like, how do you do that? How do you figure that out to walk hand in hand with Jesus throughout the day?
Yeah, I think that's the journey that everybody is going to be on, whether you're starting at 16 or whether you're 56. You're going to be in that journey of, okay, Jesus, I want to be with you. Will you help me not just make plans, but then will you just show up in my day and help me be aware of that?
That's good, man. Yeah.
So there's obviously different ways and different apps now and different helps for that, which has been really good, which are really good.
Yeah.
There's little things like, 10:02, my alarm goes off and I'm praying for workers in the harvest. Well, then that's like, okay, God, what is that? If I'm in the middle of a meeting though, I usually have that silenced, or I try to remember. Then I'm like, oh, sorry about that. I have to hit it in the middle of the meeting, which is always awkward. But just having those alarms set or those help, that's helpful for me. Otherwise, I get going and forget. I don't know if there's anything more right there right now. Just journaling helps me, but that's another discipline that people can do.
For sure.
Just journaling it and then sitting that, changing my weekly rhythm, my rule of life, even weekly as needed, so that I can be deeper the next week than I was the week before.
It's good, man. That's really good. One of the things that I've started to do, and I really got it from this book, Lead with Prayer. Yeah. Who's it by? What's it say?
It's Ryan Skoog, Peter Greer, and Cameron Doolittle.
So good, man. From this book, one of the new rules of life that I've tried to incorporate is I have this meeting block on my calendar from 3:30 to 4 every day, and it's just like a one-on-one with Jesus. Like, hey, I want to recap my day.
Love that.
And also pray about meetings that I have tomorrow. And so I've been doing that the last month, and man, it's been really impactful of something I actually look forward to. Something that I'm not going to let other things get in the way of that meeting.
Yes.
Because I would never skip a one-on-one with one of my employees. Why would I ever skip a one-on-one with the God of the universe?
Exactly.
And so even that rule of life itself, 30 minutes, everyone can carve 30 minutes out of their day to sit down and really just say God, what's your agenda for tomorrow? And hey, where were you? It's almost an examine of the day.
Yes.
Where were you throughout today?
I think one of the things that church/religion has done poorly is that it's placed this this legalistic onus on our time with Jesus. It's like, okay, well, I got to read for half an hour in the morning, or I got to read a psalm at night, and it's almost segmented it, it's fractured it, where it's so much more. And something that, again, at least my tribe tradition didn't do well is emphasizing the real friendship that the God of the universe wants with me, that he just wants to be with me, that he delights in me, that his favor rests on me. It'd be a great study for any listener here, is just how many times does it say, let your face shine on me? And what does it look like when you see how's your face reflect joy when you see your kid, or your kid's face reflect joy when they see you? And then, then think of your father in that same kind of, your heavenly father in that same kind of joy. Now I realize that 3:30, I can't wait until that 3:30 appointment, right? Amen. Because, man, I get to be with my dad.
So good.
So good.
Yeah, I love that, man. Talk to us about what are some of the key principles that kingdom business owners really need to know while they're running the organization.
I think there's a big difference between intentions and intentionality. It's one of the things that I've really kind of come to grapple with, and then realize I can have great intentions of having relationship with my kids, a great relationship with my wife, a thriving business, but intentionality means that I'm actually putting things in my daily and weekly rhythms that actually make those things come to pass, and I'm actually building them in. I want to have great relationships with my kids, but then every Saturday morning I'm golf it for 5 hours. Well, okay, where there's a gap there. It doesn't mean I can't golf, but where's the connection between, okay, my kids are getting up and they're fresh and they're wide-eyed and they want to be with dad that day, but I'm on the golf course.
Preach.
Or, I want to have that quiet time with my kid at night, but I get home and I'm sitting in front of the TV with the remote, or watching the hockey game instead of interacting with my kid. And so I'm only using this for any of my listeners, not because I've got it figured out, but man, I broke this part of my life early on. And if it wasn't for the goodness of greatness of God with my kids and with my wife's faithfulness to them and even to me in my brokenness, man, it would have been awful. So to be able to look back and say, okay, I intended that to happen, but because of God's grace, it still did. But then now looking back going, man, I wish I needed to. And now I'm actually building some of those intentionalities for my intentions, hopefully with my grandkids, with business owners, with my friends. It's not just I want good friends, but now I'm actually setting, Saturday night, honey, it's our friend night. Who are we having over, or where are we going? I mean, being instead of just what movie are we going to watch and park in front of it. There's just this little fine switch. I think that's a huge one, personally.
How do you differentiate? How do I say this? Like the discipline of being intentional with legalism. How do you wrestle with that?
Well, I mean, I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm not doing it to get pleasure from God. So legalism would be defined at a base part as I'm trying to get something from God out of this or feel better about myself because of this. I'm actually doing it because I'm actually doing this because I see the representation of it in my kids, and I'm not doing it for somebody else's approval or pat on the back. Does that make sense?
Totally. Well, man, and I have personally seen that throughout your own legacy. There's a reason that your children love Jesus, and there's a reason that you are deeply respected in our community and by me.
Thanks,
I
bro.
respect you more than just about anybody. So that is evident all throughout your life, man. There's no doubt about that.
I appreciate that.
Well, hey, let me ask this question. Where specifically in your story have you seen your faith in Jesus really blend and integrate over into the marketplace?
That's a great question. Well, I mean, for the first 33 years, I'd say I would say very little because I was just I worked in the church and for the church. And so it was always something talked about and encouraged in my conversations with others. But in these last 8 months, I think that, again, it comes back to that reality of my friendship with the God of the universe. I'm not trying to sell a product. Like I so often felt like I often may have done on a Sunday morning or in a Bible study. I'm not trying to sell a product. I'm seeking to live the life of Jesus, being with him, being like him, doing what he did, responding the way he responds. And so there's times where you're talking kingdom principles and you're not using the name of Jesus or bringing up the name of the Spirit, but you're talking kingdom principles because kingdom principles work.
Yeah.
And so you're just using those interactions and those ways of dealing with conflict, helping with finances, whatever. And so that's bringing Jesus into the marketplace without using his name. But then there's times I can use his name, and then you can get, obviously you're giving him credit beforehand, but you're really giving him credit when you can bless and use his name in those ways too. So
that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is where does evangelism play in the marketplace? What does that look like? How do you find the balance between not being the guy that's like shoving the Bible down people's throats, but also like we're called to declare the name of Jesus boldly. So what's the balance?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I've always been, and I've taken flack for this, and so some of our listeners may still give me flack too, which is fine. I'd love to have the conversation. I've always been what was back in the 80s and 90s termed a relational evangelism guy. I've always been the guy who's like relationship. It starts with relationship.
Right.
It's not just a dictate of truths. It's not just a ticket, a fire insurance ticket out of one place and a glory ticket into another. Yeah. It's a relationship and friendship that builds bridges that are strong enough to then hold the gospel if and when the time comes. Now, I always say when the time comes, because the time is going to come. Mm-hmm. That friend that you're building a relationship with that doesn't know Jesus, they're going to need to be there for you in your down times, and you can show the life of Jesus by in your talking and your praying and your just, man, I don't have any place to go but God, so I hope that's okay. And, and showing him that that's what it's going to be. Or they're dealing with difficulty, depth, disaster, discouragement, whatever. And then you can speak some encouragement and life into them and say, man, the only way I can deal with this is what the world may call it a crutch, but I have to lean on my God a lot for this. And so you have those opportunities, but I think that's only found in relationship, because I can't just hand them a track and say, hey, here you go. I can't just hand a brochure and say, well, when you face difficulty, here's the 4 steps you're going to face and, see you later. Because that's not going to have as much teeth, I don't think.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So I'm a relational evangelist guy, for good or for ill.
It's good, man.
And I think that's where, to encourage our listeners, relationship is the key. Remain relational. It is always about relationship. And so in that conflict with your coworker, with your employee, in those conflicts, remain relational as far as you possibly can, because that's what will give you the power of words and gospel when the time comes.
So good.
I think when you're going through it, and relationship always leads the way, and your employees, regardless of their faith background, can see that. That's when Jesus shines through.
For sure. No, I'd agree. It definitely feels messier in the marketplace. It's a lot cleaner when it's at church. Hey, I'm going to church. I know what I can expect. I know what the relationships are going to look like. It's different when it's an employee or it's a vendor or if it's a client. And there's a lot more repercussions. There's not a lot of repercussions if someone comes to your church and, you sharing the gospel with them doesn't go well. All good. It's a lot different when you got to see them every day.
Yes.
And a lot different when they're paying you money to be, you're their client or whatever.
Yep. And so it's
just messy.
It's just messy. And I think that embracing that messiness, and when God gives you an opportunity, I think that's the if our listeners can get the connection that just helped for me, it just came to me was, I'm not trying a program out. I'm living a life following Jesus. So if in this relationship, this person that you're conversing with cracks open their heart and shows some vulnerability, and the Spirit says, hey, speak kingdom, speak Jesus into that, well, then do it.
Yeah.
But don't feel like, man, if I didn't give them the 4 spiritual laws in that conversation, so, or they didn't, man, I blew it. I didn't give the Romans road in that one time. Wait a second. You're going to have other opportunities.
Yeah, it's good.
You're going to have other opportunities. I loved Tim Keller. Never got to meet him personally, but loved a lot of what he had to say. And one of the things he said that helped me when I was in professional paid ministry, preaching every Sunday, and then that I've paralleled now into this new stage of life, is that he said, there's going to be different ways that you talk about and present the gospel, depending on the setting and the situation and the relationship. There's going to be different ways of doing that. It's whipping out the brochure in my brain and just giving a XYZ ABC way of doing the gospel is not going to work in a post-Christian culture. I've got to figure out and listen to the Spirit, and then in that, as that relationship builds, keep talking about my relationship, and let it be seen, but keep building that relationship. And then I'm going to have other opportunities to present. So one way it might be, well, hey, it might be talking about finances. It might be talking about relationships. They might be talking about, the fact that their last job was so broken because some guy was an idiot or whatever. And so you're going to have the opportunity to speak the gospel different ways in those contexts. And I think that comes through practicing prayer in that moment and thinking, okay, God, what may come up here? Help me to know. And then if I don't know, help me not just to default, but help me to really listen to what you've got to say.
It's money. So good, man. So good. Here's one of the last questions I'm going to ask you, and it's a little bit of a complex one because I really don't know the answer, but it ties up with what you're saying.
Great.
A lot of our listeners, and including myself, I want to grow my business to have more finances. I want to be more generous. I want to provide for my family better. God has called me to build businesses, have wealth, and steward that wealth. But obviously Scripture is really clear about just how hard it is to see the kingdom with wealth. I mean, it's a really narrow road for those that have wealth. And so I want this to be kind of like the linchpins, something that we talk about on every episode, but I'd love to land the plane here with how do we wrestle with that? Like, what does that look like? If God's called you to start a business, to have employees, to have wealth, how do you still walk with Jesus? How do you enter the kingdom of heaven?
Well, I mean, what did Jesus say about that? It's, there's one of the first things that comes to my mind is the parable of the talents, where, there's times in my past where I've done the parable of the talents. And so, for listeners quickly, Jesus told, a story of a master goes away and he gives one talent, one amount of money to one of his workers, and then 2 to another and 5 to another. And it just says, hey, I'm leaving, take care of this. And when I come back, you're going to give an accounting of it. And so the guy that did 5, and 5, he made 5 more. The guy did 2 more. The guy that did 1's like, I just got to bury it. Well, so then when the accounting came forward, and the guy that buried it just said, "Oh, I know you were stern and a taskmaster, and so I just didn't want to lose this thing and take a chance on it." And the guy's like, "Wait a second, you could have at least put it in the bank and gotten interest on it." And then he takes the 1 and he doesn't give it to the guy that's only got 4 now. He gives it to the guy that's got 10. And I'm like, what? That doesn't even sound fair to me. But what I think it is that there's people who have much have not just the responsibility, but oftentimes if they're leading with generosity, and I'm reading into the story, but I think the master's like, okay, that guy that just did 5 with 5 and then made 5 from it is like, wow, I'm going to trust him to use this more for my purposes than even the guy that did 2 and 2. And so when God gives me those opportunities I'm making a buck, I want to treat my employees well. What does that look like? I want to be generous. I'm going to treat my kids well. What does that mean? I'm going to be generous. I'm going to treat my church well. What does that mean? I'm going to be generous. Why? Because it's all his.
That's good.
My business is all his. Now, listeners may say, well, yeah, Dale, you just stepped out of ministry. You weren't making very much money there, and you've only had 8 months, so you're probably not making very much money here either. And I'm like, okay, you're right. But it doesn't matter if I'm making 80,000, 800,000, or 8 million. It's all his.
Yeah.
And so if I can have that that value now in the early part, and then be generous, have a generous heart, a generous heart in my conversations. And this goes all the way back. Now we've come full circle to the evangelism piece too. Have a generous heart in my conversations where I'm just listening and I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. Not saying I have to agree. I'm just, that's interesting. Really, have you ever thought about this? And having those kind of generous conversations where it's back and forth, even if the person is far off from where I believe. Then I have that same generous heart in sharing with my employees and sharing my God's going to, those who are faithful in little, he will be faithful in much as well. So that means I have to be generous with the, whatever it is, the 40,000 or the 80,000 now, because if I can be generous now, then he knows, oh, you're going to be generous later too.
It's good. So good, man.
I rambled too much.
No, it's great, man. It feels like it's super practical and also just, that feels right on par with the heart of God, because it boils down to the heart of where we're at. What is our heart? And what's our relationship with money and our heart towards money? So, man, I love that. I think that's so great. Here's what I'd say. Last question to land the plane.
You just said that was the last one.
I know. I'm doing an extra one. Sorry.
Okay. Well, we didn't touch down there, so let's do another one. The wind's too strong. Let's bring it back around.
Up and do one more little lap, and then we're gonna land with this.
I'm ready.
What's the most important thing you think every kingdom business owner has to know?
I set the Lord always before me. Because he's at my right hand, I will not be shaken. The deal is economics are going to shake. Politics are going to shake. The world is going to shake. Our relationships are going to shake. Our homes are going to face difficulties. Our relationships are going to have some of those earthquakes. If the Lord is always in front of me, in those places, then I can have the tenacity, the endurance, the grit that I need, knowing that not only am I setting him before me, that's the action part of that Psalm 16:8, the action part, I'm setting him there, but then I'm setting him there, but whether or not I set him there, he's always at my right hand. So the truth of the matter is that the God of the universe is always with me. He's always surrounding me. And so then if I can keep that as my mantra and my motives every day, then I can deal with the shiftiness that happens in life regularly, and through that I gain endurance and strength and character and hope and the grit that I need to make this thing work.
Preach, man! You get me fired up. That's beautiful. That is beautiful, man. Well, hey, Dale Pierce.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks for being on the podcast, man. Honored to have you here. Love you a ton.
Love you too, man.
And yeah, excited for you to come back again.
We'll do it. And to our listeners, man, just bless you this day with clarity. Bless you this day with encouragement. May you know more and more of the Father's favor as you live the life of the Son in the power of the Spirit.
Amen.